SELT. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. Well, tell me what you do at SELT.
Yeah, so I'm a project manager here. I work on acquisitions for the land trust, both conservation easements and properties that we may someday own at the land trust here. And I also help to coordinate some of our farmland programming, work to connect young farmers with either older farmers or older landowners that are looking for a new steward of their land. So I do a little bit of that as well.
Awesome. Well, what is your mission at SELT? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, so our mission officially is to protect and sustain the lands in our communities for clean water, outdoor recreation, fresh food, wildlife, and healthy forests. So it's really the fresh food part that I tend to work on, and I think why we're both here today.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, that's very important to us. I can't say enough about how important it is to protect land. I imagine that you run into some pretty interesting obstacles.
Always, yeah. Every project, there's always some blip or quandary along the way. So it's not a dull job by any means, but I appreciate that, and I get to meet a lot of really cool people that care about the land, a lot of cool farmers, hard workers. So in a way, it's sort of an honor to work alongside them to protect the land that they care about.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So, specifically for you, how did you get here? What was your journey like to be working for SELT?
Yeah, so well, I grew up on a small dairy farm in northern New Hampshire. Um, my mother still runs it. It's called Huckins Farm. It's
Oh yeah,
actually a product that you carry,
yeah.
and so it's yogurts, cheeses, and raw milk. And so growing up on that farm, obviously as a young kid working very hard, you might not appreciate uh, growing up in that way. All your friends are out playing, and you're haying and sweating and toiling over the summertime. But it's funny how quickly that turned around. As soon as I left for college, I started missing the farm, and it's sort of just growing up in New Hampshire through the 80s and 90s. There's a lot of change to the landscape, a lot of development and industrialization, and it was just sad to see the way that was happening and the way that we were losing a lot of our farms. And I think over time, as I learned about land trusts and land conservation, it just really spoke to me. And it's sort of my way of giving back to the farming community that helped raise me. Well, not I was probably the worst farmer in my family, so I don't think I was going to contribute in that way. So this is a nice way to sleep at night knowing that I'm giving back in some way.
That's awesome. We do sell a lot of Huckins products. That's actually really popular on the website, and we get great feedback. So I
It's good
didn't
to hear.
I didn't know about that relationship,
Yeah.
but that's really neat. I definitely can kind of sympathize with, though I did not grow up on or anywhere near a farm. Growing up in southern Maine, I kind of think I took for granted just the area. I felt like it was just kind of a small place that was not significant, and then it was not until I left and went everywhere else in the country that I realized that Maine and New England are really just great places to live, and I definitely do not take that for granted anymore.
Yeah, indeed. Same. I feel the same way. I went out to Montana, which is real farm country. But there's something about growing up in New England and just kind of having small farms interspersed, between forest and mountains and rivers, and it's just a smaller landscape. And you really feel it when that one farm field that you played in this in when you're a kid, and all of a sudden it's 30 houses, and it just
Yeah,
it kind of hits you in a different way. So um, yeah.
that is very interesting. I mean, I've seen a lot of that. I live in Portland, Maine, but yeah, right around where I live, it was protected wetland, and well, now it's not. And I'm sure there are a lot of really, you know, big important factors weighed into decisions like that. But yeah, it can be a little shocking that what was protected wetland is 170 houses, and yeah, there's. I'm sure you would know a million times more about that sort of thing than I would. But I mean, I've seen it just recently in the last 5 or 10 years really change a lot.
Yeah, that's, it's, yeah, there's kind of an interesting misconception that I hear a lot when I'm, say presenting in front of a select board or a conservation commission. I think sometimes people come to the table assuming that the land trust is anti-development, anti-houses, and that's not the case at all. We are completely supportive of growth and residential growth, and I think the important thing is growing smartly and figuring out, okay, we want to have a high quality of life. We want to have farms and forests and ways that we can get outside and enjoy that nature and enjoy the farms. So we need to protect those areas that are going to be productive as farms, and build over here where perhaps we're closer to utilities and services and culture and all the things that maybe a local little village might provide for you, rather than just kind of sprawling out across the whole landscape and sort of
Right.
taking those other pieces of the land that are really useful, for agriculture or other things.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is your all-time favorite experience at SELT? What stands out to you?
Oh gosh.
This is a hard question to answer. I know.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of cop out a little bit. It wouldn't be one experience, but I'll say that, one of the aspects of my job that may not be obvious from someone in the outside looking in is the relationships that I form with the landowners I'm working with, and particularly some of the farmers I've worked with. They are just, some of the best hardworking people that you could ever imagine. And, even though everyone thinks of a farmer as a hard worker, when you are meeting with them on a weekly basis and watching them go through a growing season or watching them go through a particularly, tight economic downturn or market, you really get to know them and you get to see the just how dynamic they are as humans and how resilient they are. And I love that aspect of my job, just getting, knowing that it's sort of introduced myself and we're just getting to know one another. And I know by the end of this project, we are going to protect that farm that is so important to them. And I am going to know this person on such a different level by the time it's over. So
Yeah,
that's,
I mean I can only imagine how important it must feel to be doing that kind of work. It's very it's very noble if I do say so myself. It sounds like I'm sure it's very difficult, but also, yeah. I mean, the end getting that win is like you're doing such a great thing in protecting that land. Um,
yeah.
well,
And it's really not me. It's really them protecting the land,
right.
I'm sort of the facilitator, so I can't take much credit for it, but it is a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what are your goals for the future? I know that you've just moved into a new building.
Yeah, a beautiful new building, net zero. We're also restoring the old farmhouse that it sits next to. We're supposed to finish that up later this year. We have a barn on site. So this is Burley Farms. It was once a dairy farm. Also had some orchards dating back to the 1700s. And Kate Donald at Stout Oak Farm actually used to farm here
Oh, wow.
for a period. And so she and some other local farmers are helping us to vision, what we could do here on site. So we're planning to have active agricultural production here, and what exactly that will look like, we're not sure, but we're in that planning process right now. In addition to that, we're already doing some nature-based education here. So, SELT at one point in our history, we were very much just a land protection focused organization. We got really good at conserving land, and I think right now with this new conservation center and some of the strategic planning that the staff and our board has done, we're really looking at ways that we can sort of open our arms and bring the community in through outreach and education and engagement. So there's already some nature-based education going on with school-age kids here on site, and we're hoping to open that up also to some farm-based education with those kids. We're working with some of the local schools to do that. So really just landing here on Burley Farms is going to give us just this kind of open palette to expand that education and outreach component. So I think we're all really excited about that.
Well, that sounds great. It's a lot of goals, but I mean, it sounds like you're pretty primed to take on all those things. I should mention too that Kate Donald is actually one of the owners of Three River Farmers Alliance, and it is really awesome to work with her. She knows so much about, well, farming, but also she knows what makes sense, I think, for farms as a business, which is just her experience speaking. It's really helpful having that kind of guidance. So I imagine you're all having a great time working together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I love working with farmers. They're so innovative and dynamic, and Kate and some of the others have, you ask them for a good idea and you get 30 great ideas, so it's more about kind of honing in on what we think we can accomplish and sort of planning it out in a reasonable fashion, or rolling it out in a reasonable fashion so that we don't get too far over the skis. So
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.